I'm Josh Swartz,
And I'm William Illingworth.
host of the High Tech Podcast, a part of the Education Podcast Network, just like the show you're listening to now.
Shows on the network are individually owned, and opinions expressed may not reflect others.
Find other interesting education podcasts at edupodcastnetwork.com.
Hey, welcome back. Steve here, and today I'm talking with Anna Yudina. She is the Senior Director Marketing Initiatives for the Toy Association. Our focus today are the importance of play, the Genius of Play initiative, STEAM Toys, and the many benefits of toys that encourage play and human growth and understanding. Oh, this is so cool. So much to learn. You're going to love this. Thanks for listening. Oh, by the way, it'd be so cool if you went to my website, stephenmiletto.com/reviews, and left a review. Could you do that for me? It's so simple. You just push a button and then maybe give me 5 stars, and how about say a few nice words? Huh? That'd be so cool. Thanks so much. You are awesome. Enjoy the show.
It's the Education Podcast, your favorite show, with lots of groovy guests and they share what they know. So crank it up to 10 and let your neighbors know that here's another show with Dr. Steve Miletto. Teaching, learning, leading, K-12. Teaching, learning, leading, K-12. Teaching, learning, leading, K-12. With Dr. Steve Miletto.
Anna Yudina is spearheading the Toy Association's Genius of Play initiative to raise awareness of play as a crucial part of child development and encourage families to make time for play in their daily lives. Since its launch in 2015, the Genius of Play has reached millions of parents, caregivers, and educators, providing research-based facts, expert advice, and a host of play activities through its website, social media channels, live events, and various media. Anna has also been leading the Toy Association's strategic STEAM, Science, Technology, Engineering, Arts, and Math initiative, which culminated in the development of the comprehensive STEAM Toy Assessment Framework and the launch of industry's first official STEAM Toy Accreditation program. This is going to be so cool. What a whole neat world that we're talking about here. Anna, welcome, and thanks for joining me. Say hi to everyone.
Hey, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me, Steve.
Oh, you're so welcome. It's great to have you on the show, Anna. And what a neat world. I gotta ask you a little bit. I mean, you're working first of all for a company called the Toy Association, and that's a cool sort of thing as it is. And we're talking about play, so I love this topic. So we're getting ready to get into this. And the first thing I want to ask you is, so you work for the Toy Association. Could you tell everyone a little bit about who they are, what the Toy Association is?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Toy Association is the leader of the toy and play industry. And what exactly does it mean? Well, we are a not-for-profit trade organization, and we bring together toy manufacturers, so companies like Lego, Hasbro, Mattel, and many, many others. Also retailers that sell toys, Target, Amazon, and others. Toy designers, and pretty much everybody in the toy and play community. So we are the organization for all of those companies and individuals. And in terms of what we do on a day-to-day basis, a lot of things. We address industry-wide issues like toy safety, for instance. We also have our iconic events like our Toy Fair New York, and that is where toy manufacturers and toy buyers come together. There is also a lot of media in attendance. We also do a lot of research. For instance, we conduct research on toy trends. What is new and hot? What are we seeing that's happening in the toy industry? And finally, we promote the value of play. And you mentioned it a little bit in the introduction, the genius of play. So we support parents, caregivers, and educators with all kinds of resources, really with the goal of inspiring more play at home as well as in the classroom.
Thanks so much. I love that. This is cool that you bring all those groups together and talk about toys and appropriate toys and specifics about them that we're going to get into in just a minute, but especially that concept of play and the role that it plays. So I love this. So you're the Senior Director, Marketing Initiatives at the Toy Association. So what do you do?
So I lead the Genius of Play initiative at the Toy Association with lots of support from everybody at the Toy Association, as well as many external experts and partners. And we even have a play ambassador network who are also helping out to spread the word about the benefits of play. And as I said, our goal is to provide play-based resources for parents and educators. So a big part of my job is to oversee the development of those resources. And you can check them out on our website, thegeniusofplay.org. We have hundreds of play ideas for parents. They're all organized by a child's age, developmental benefits, prep time. So really convenient for parents to find exactly what they need for their family. And we also have a dedicated section for teachers, which we can talk a little bit about. So I oversee the development of those resources, as well as all marketing and communications for the Genius of Play. And that includes working with our experts, with play ambassadors, as well as like-minded organizations. So we have a partnership, for instance, with National After School Association. We partnered in the past with National Association for the Education of Young Children, and many other great organizations like that that serve families and kids. And finally, you mentioned in the intro the STEAM initiative. So I also oversee the STEAM Toy Accreditation program, which is super interesting. It awards the official stamp of approval to STEAM toys after a rigorous evaluation process. So we can get into the details of that later on, but that pretty much sums up what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis.
Awesome. Appreciate it. Yeah. All right. So we're going to talk about the importance of play. Could you, as we talk about this, could you just talk about what you're talking about? I mean, and what got you interested in play? I mean, so kind of explain when we talk about encouraging play, what we mean, and then,
so
what got you interested in that topic?
Yeah. So in terms of what got me interested in play, I'm a marketing professional, not an educator. So I was approached by the Toy Association back in 2015 to help build the Genius of Play initiative and communicate all the benefits of play. But we started by reviewing all the existing research, and it goes back decades. Researchers were looking at the role of play in child development, the connections between play and learning. So all of a sudden, I was discovering a brand new world, and I was just fascinated by what we uncovered, by all the facts. Well, obviously, I kind of like intuitively knew that play was important because this is what all kids do naturally, and it's also fun. A lot of our best memories go back to playing as a child, but I never realized how much more there is to play, especially this connection between play and learning, and how play really helps not only young kids, but even older kids to learn and master all sorts of skills. So that was the first aha moment that I'm like, wow, there is a story that the world needs to hear, that needs to be told. And then at the same time, I realized that play had what I call a little bit of a marketing problem in our society. And what I mean by that is that, does play really get all the appreciation that it deserves? Well, we tend to place a lot of value on like being busy and being successful and all those extrinsic factors, like external appreciation and recognition, but we don't always take enough time off, not enough time out for our own hobbies, for things that we like to do. We tend to look down on leisure sometimes because it makes us not productive somehow. So that's what I mean by a little bit of a marketing problem. So I thought that in addition to telling this story about the benefits of play for kids, for child development, there is also an opportunity to tell the adults about the benefits of play, whether we're talking stress reduction or creativity. There's so many benefits that play has for any stage in life. And I think as an adult, I was fascinated by that, and just the opportunity to make a difference in the lives of kids as well as adults and society at large by inspiring people to be more playful and allowing themselves and their kids to take time out for play.
Yeah, this is awesome. You got me thinking about all kinds of things, because I think one of the things that really comes to the forefront right now is that there's a lot of, not that there's anything that wrong with it, but at the same time there is. The idea that kids get glued, and adults get glued to that little phone that they have, or the tablet, or some screen, and walk right out into traffic looking at that thing, and you go to dinner and you might see a family sitting at the table, but they're all looking at their individual screens and stuff like this, and I just would think that encouraging play also has a lot to do with trying to get people to interact in a different way with that world around them, which I think is so cool. Good stuff. All right. So one of the things I mentioned in your bio, was this talk of the genius of play. So can you talk about how the genius of play supports educators?
Yeah, absolutely. So as I mentioned, we have a dedicated section for teachers on the geniusofplay.org. And the core of that section is play-based lesson activities. They cover specific focus skills, so different curriculum areas from literacy and vocabulary to math and science, geography, social and emotional skills. Every activity includes specific focus skills, grade level recommendations, step-by-step instructions, so you will know exactly how to set up and conduct the activity with your students. And it also includes modification. So you can make it simpler, you can make it a little bit more complex, you can modify it for your specific situation. I want to mention that all of the activities in our For Teachers section, they have been developed by real teachers, by people who teach in the classroom. And we are incredibly proud of that, because those people who develop those activities, they are dealing with the same challenges, the same issues that you are dealing on a day-to-day basis, and they know basically what you have to deal with. So they're very hands-on, they're very practical, and on the website they are available as PDFs. So we made them downloadable, so you can easily click and print. You can print it out and take it with you to the class, or you can pull it up on your phone. Those phones are useful sometimes, so they're not all bad. So use them for something like that to bring more play to your classroom. So that's the core of what we do. But in addition to lesson activities and like those mini lesson plans, we also have materials for parents. So handouts, or we call them take-home pages, for instance, with facts about the benefits of play, with some ideas for parents to incorporate play at home. And there are ideas for inside, for outside. So that's a great start. And then, of course, there is a lot more for parents on the geniusofplay.org. So you can start by setting those take-home pages with the students so that parents start sort of like incorporating play in their day-to-day and discover more at the geniusofplay.org. And finally, I wanted to mention it's the beginning of the school year. So we have our fun Pledge to Play certificate that you can also print in our For Teachers section. It's a downloadable certificate. You can print it out, hang it up in the classroom, just to let everybody know that this classroom supports play, that you understand and value this connection between play and learning. And if you'd like, you can also order a full color, beautiful poster for your classroom. It's a little bit too large to download, but you can request it by email and we will send it right to your address. Everything on the geniusofplay.org is free, including the posters. This is just part of what we do as a nonprofit to encourage people to play more.
I love that. That's awesome. That is so cool. And back at towards the end, when we talk about the show notes and all that stuff, we got to make sure we remind them about the certificate and all that cool stuff there. So good stuff. All right. So let's talk about the science of play and learning. I mean, what's that connection that science shows us between play and learning?
Yeah, so that's what I said fascinated me when I started diving into all the research about the benefits of play. So to organize it a little bit, so there are 6 key areas where play benefits child development specifically. And those key areas are physical, cognitive, social, emotional, creativity, and communication. And play is absolutely necessary for young children to reach developmental milestones in each of those 6 key areas. And then when you go into kind of like dive into each of those areas, there are so many connections and so many studies that showcase the connection between play and learning specific skills. And one example that I like specifically, and I think your audience will like because there are a lot of educators, it's how play impacts literacy. So according to science, pretend play or imaginative play, it's, you know, what 4, 5, 6-year-olds do when a banana becomes a phone, when a stick becomes a horse. Well, what's happening? Well, obviously they're having a ton of fun, so that's one thing that's happening. But at the same time, they are developing abstract thoughts, symbolic thinking. So basically, this ability to realize that one object can stand for a different object. So that is extremely important to literacy. Why? Because literacy is all based on abstract thinking. A letter stands for a sound. A group of letters stand for a word. A group of words stand for a concept, an idea, a sentence. So kids are not born with that abstract thought and symbolic thinking. So pretend play is a way that they are developing exactly the kind of thought that they will need to master literacy and reading. And there is a great study that actually showed that kids who were pretending to read to their stuffed animals when they were little, they had better language abilities in kindergarten. So here you go. There's like this direct correlation. And that is just one example. I could go on forever and ever. I know we have a limited amount of time, but last point that I wanted to make about the connection between play and learning, beyond developing specific skills, play makes learning fun, hands-on, and relevant. And as we know, engaged learners are successful learners. So the biggest power of play, in my opinion, it's this ability to engage kids and adults, really people of all ages in the learning process. So as a teacher, if you are able to combine your curriculum goals, your learning goals with play-based activities that guide students towards those goals, you will see better learning outcomes in all students, and especially maybe in those students who may have been struggling with, you know, with other approaches to learning that are based more on memorization and not very playful approaches. I think you will see great outcomes.
So cool. I mean, it's so important, and it's such an important topic to kind of reiterate to my audience and to others about the importance that it plays, and that science shows that connection there, that it in helping kids learn and so forth. And one of the things that we do know is that many teachers know and understand that play has a huge learning component. But not all parents are convinced. How do we communicate the value of play to parents who may be skeptical?
I couldn't agree more. And that's one of the reasons why we started the Genius of Play initiative, to educate parents about the benefits of play. So one suggestion that I have, we collaborate with a lot of different experts. So they include different specialties: child psychologists, occupational therapists, pediatricians, learning specialists, and those experts share advice with parents on the geniusofplay.org. So we have an expert advice column, and we feature a different expert every other week. And they could be talking, for instance, about the using play for financial literacy, right? We talked about literacy, but there's also financial literacy and math. So playful approaches to that. Or they could be talking about emotional development and using play to help their kids manage difficult emotions. So really a lot of different topics that little by little show this connection between play and learning, play and developing different skills. So definitely one suggestion that I have is share that advice with parents. Take advantage of it. It's all free, it's all available. And as a teacher, you can be an advocate for play, and you can share this advice with parents and help them realize and understand little by little that play is more than just fun. And to be honest, every parent, I think, agrees that play is important, right? So we're not trying to convince parents about the importance of play, but a lot of parents believe the importance of play in fun, building bonds, engaging with their kids, helping their kids develop their imaginations. And that is all very true, but there is also so much more. And that's, I think, where this opportunity is to connect play with developing literacy, with learning STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics, in addition to all the stress reduction, bond building, imagination and creativity that are kind of like the lower hanging fruit, right? We think the majority of parents already are believers in that, but there is so much more that science tells us about the benefits of play.
It's so cool. There's so many things. Right now, you got me focused on remembering a toy from my childhood that I loved, and I'm not sure. I was somewhere between 8 and 11, I think, when this came out. But it was this giant ship that was made of styrofoam, and it was supposed to be like a research vessel or something like that. And it had a helicopter that was attached to these different cables. And what's interesting is at that time there were several movies that had helicopter pilots and helicopters as a focus. There were several TV shows that showed the helicopters taking off and landing and going in to deal with stuff. And there's this whole thing about a way a helicopter moves. And it's funny because you got me thinking about this toy because it was fun because you play with it. Now, it can only go as far as the circle that it was part of its radius, but you could make it go forward, you could make it come backwards, you could make it go up and go down. And it fascinated me by, I spent hours with that thing with my friends also. And I may not have become a helicopter pilot, but I've always made sure that I've taken every opportunity to fly in helicopters, and as a result of it. And it's funny that that's what you're. I think I know who it was made by, and I've seen it kind of be recreated over the years. But it's funny how some toys like that can just, they teach you how to do the different things that they do, and it may inspire you to do different, pursue something as you get older. So anyway, I just thought I'd share with you. I have all these memories of the little helicopter, and it was all pretty cool what it did, and it's just amazing how stuff like that can teach you a little bit about. We're going to get into STEAM and its role in just a minute, but teach you a little bit about the powers of flight and stuff like this. So
yeah, Steve, you're absolutely right. We actually, at the Genius of Play, we did research amongst parents about the connections between what they played as a child, what kind of toys, and their future careers. And we found that just a little bit over 30% of parents played with toys that are directly connected to their future careers. So I know you did not become a helicopter pilot, but 30% of people saw that connection. So it absolutely exists.
It's so cool. It is so cool. All right. So one of the things you mentioned before is you mentioned a little bit about social emotional learning. It's been a big topic in education. So how can play help in this area?
So according to experts, play helps kids develop the 5 key components of emotional intelligence. And I love that concept of emotional intelligence. It was introduced by a psychologist back in the 1990s, and it kind of like helps us think about emotions in an organized manner. What are those? Regulation, empathy, super important, motivation, and social skills. So the Genius of Play, we recently partnered with a mental health expert, an expert in emotional intelligence, and we developed the Emotional Wellness Playbook, which is a free resource on our website. And it is packed with play-based activities that help kids develop each of the 5 components of emotional intelligence. So I'll give you a couple of examples. For instance, I mentioned emotional self-awareness. So it's basically for kids being able to recognize and correctly label their emotions. So we have a game in the Emotional Wellness Playbook called Emoji Bingo. It's a fun game. It utilizes the traditional bingo play pattern, but on the bingo cards, we have all sorts of emotions: anger, frustration, as well as positive emotions like excitement, surprise, and happiness and joy. It is really important for kids to learn to recognize and distinguish between those different emotions, because that's where they can start managing and coping with them by correctly labeling what it is that they're feeling, what it is that they're experiencing. So a great game that's fun, but also helps kids build skills in that specific area of emotional intelligence. And like I said, we have activities for each of the 5 areas. So for self-regulation, for instance, there is an activity recommended by our mental health expert called DIY calming bottle. And those are actually great to share with parents who may be struggling, like helping their kids manage their emotions. It's a great, fun DIY creative project, but it's also a proven tool to help kids calm down, to help them manage their big emotions when they're experiencing them. So I'm sure a lot of parents will appreciate that. There are also activities for kids who may be older. Like one of my favorite ones is called the vision board. A lot of you listeners may be familiar with that. So that is great for building motivation, helping kids set goals. A vision board can be around what are my expectations for this upcoming school year, for instance, or an upcoming vacation, or it could be anything, or who I want to be when I grow up. So you can make it as narrow or as aspirational as you want to. But what is important that it teaches kids how to set goals and how to think through the steps that they will need to take in order to achieve those goals. It also builds self-confidence, which is very important for overall emotional intelligence. So those are just some examples of how play, and those are all very playful activities, right? We're not talking about sitting down with a child across the table and talking about emotions and feelings. We're talking about play, creating something fun, visualizing who you want to be when you're an adult or something like that. And that's, again, going back to the magic, the genius of play. The magic really is in making things fun and relatable, relevant, hands-on, translating difficult concepts into things that kids can readily understand and relate to. And that is true for emotions and STEAM, as well as pretty much anything that you're trying to teach.
That's so cool. I appreciate you talking about that, because it is, one of the just powerful aspects of play is, in using your imagination or doing the activities, whatever it is. And you are so right, by the way. It's great that it's not sitting down and explaining how this will help you. But the idea that doing those things and using those parts of your brain and so forth that allow you to have fun at the same time accomplishing something that make you feel good. There's something cool about being successful when you're playing and whatever it is, and you feel good about the world or yourself or whatever, and you forget the other troubles.
There is that saying, if you love what you do for work, you'll never spend a day of your life working.
I like that. Nice. It's good stuff. All right. Well, speaking of, work, one of the things that can be, it's kind of part of our world right now in education, is that being a teacher can be very stressful. It's as well as an administrator, their worlds. I mean, do you have any tips for adults on using play to decompress?
Absolutely. So I would recommend to start by setting aside time every day to choose something that you enjoy. And it can be very simple. It can be taking a walk, for instance, or solving a puzzle. I recently discovered that I love solving puzzles. I haven't done it since I was a child, and I had a little bit of time. I was stressed out from different things that were happening in life, and I just wanted to take this time out for myself alone, and it was just incredible. The joy that I experienced when I solved that puzzle, and the boost of confidence, and also just the unplugging, right? So they say that even a machine needs to be unplugged once in a while. If your computer stops working, sometimes you just unplug it, wait a minute, plug it back in, and ooh, magic, it works. So I think the same is, and psychology is actually telling us the same is happening with us humans. We need to be unplugged, and it does not have to be a big time commitment. So I would recommend start small. We're all busy. We don't have hours and hours to set aside, but we can all take a walk for half an hour. We can all spend 15 minutes trying to solve a puzzle or draw, doodle, whatever it is that you like to do. So one of the trends that we are actually seeing in the toy industry is called kidult. So I wanted to share that with your listeners. So it's all about adults, not kids, using toys as a source of relaxation, play, inspiration, hobbies. So there is a growing interest amongst adults in construction sets, for instance. You've probably seen Legos that are clearly meant for adults and not kids. Coloring books for adults, collectibles. A lot of adults are obsessed with Star Wars and whatever it is that they're collecting. Games that are for adults, not kids, and other products. And it is actually now one of the biggest drivers of the toy industry. So I think what's happening, a lot of adults sort of like rediscovered the joy and healing power of play during the pandemic when other options were limited. We all had a little bit more time than we were used to, and a lot of adults rediscovered play and turned to toys as a source of that relaxation. So now life is kind of back to normal, but we definitely don't see this trend slowing down. So just an interesting fact that yes, you can take a walk, you can you can cook something, you can play a sport, but also toys. Don't discount toys as an opportunity to re-engage with your inner child and get some of those relaxation and stress reduction benefits.
I love that. That's so awesome. You're talking to someone who likes to build plastic models of aircraft and automobiles and stuff like that. And I've got a chance now to work on some metal ones where you actually bend the metal and stuff like this, and it helps take away the rest of the world. It's cool when you do stuff like that. And I've also big fan of, when my kids were younger, we played all these different games, and I'm about to mention some games, even though we're not sponsored by any of these companies, but they were cool games, and it's really cool to play them as adults. So one of those is Clue. If you ever played Clue, and I'm talking about the original game where it's just you're trying to solve it's a whodunit type thing. And with kids, it was fun, but with adults, it's even more fun because you could be goofy and send people on a wild goose chase or whatever, and then a game like Sorry, where you actually send people back home, and they as adults you get to as when you're playing with your kids, you worry that maybe you're ruining them for life when you send them back home or something. But with adults, hey, we got. They're always sending each other back home or back to start or blocking you in or something like that, and good stuff. So that's just chance to escape and have a game night. I like that. It's good stuff. So this is awesome. All right. So, something else you talked about is STEAM. So do you have tips for choosing STEAM toys? I mean, how do you know which ones are truly educational?
Yes, thank you. This is a great question. So the Toy Association actually offers the official STEAM Toy Accreditation program, and the goal of the program is exactly to make it easier for consumers, for parents, teachers, anybody who shops for toys to distinguish toys that truly have this educational value when it comes to STEAM. Because unlike any toys, STEAM toys are supposed to be educational. They are supposed to help kids develop specific learning goals or learn concepts in specific areas. So the way the program works, companies can submit their toys for evaluation, and they do not have to be members of the Toy Association. So it is absolutely not exclusive to our members. Any company that makes toys for kids, STEAM toys for kids, can submit them for evaluation. And we work with the official accreditation partner, a company called the Good Play Guide, and basically they are a team of child development experts and researchers. The company was founded by Dr. Amanda Gummer, who has a PhD in child psychology, and they have been researching children and learning and evaluating toys for decades. So they have their own process where kids get to play with the toys. So people often ask me, well, should kids actually participate in the evaluation process? Absolutely. The answer is yes. It all starts with kids playing with the toys, but there is also a team of trained observers, trained child development experts who are watching as kids are playing, and they're making notes, and they are comparing what they're seeing again as the criteria that the Toy Association developed that basically describe what are the characteristics of educational STEAM toys. What does it mean to be a STEAM toy? We have a whole framework laid out that explains what it is. And I'll give you an example, for instance. Well, STEAM is interdisciplinary in nature. So in order to qualify as a STEAM toy, a toy must have learning goals in at least 2 areas. So it cannot just be math. It cannot just be science. It's got to be at least 2 disciplines. So science and math, technology and engineering, because the whole magic of STEAM is in its interdisciplinary nature. And those are just some of the insights that we uncovered during our STEAM research, and it all became the foundation for those criteria. And now we have the evaluation process in place. So if you're interested in learning more, you can download the framework from toyassociation.org. It is publicly available. It is absolutely no secret, but we don't have time to talk about all of the criteria, but you can find the framework at toyassociation.org. And if you just want to see the toys that have been accredited, you can also find them on the geniusofplay.org/STEAM. We have over 200 products that have been accredited, and I love the diversity of those toys. So there are like coding toys for 3-year-olds, and then there are construction sets for 8+ for instance, and everything in between. And there are also construction sets for 3-year-olds, by the way, and coding for 8+. So it really spans a variety of all the different ages, as well as different areas of science. There is something for astronomy, there are microscopes, there is just like a ton of fun stuff.
That is so cool. And this is a good segue right into, because we're getting close to finishing up. And Anna, if someone wanted to follow up and connect with you and or learn more, where would you send them?
Yeah, so the Genius of Play resources are all on thegeniusofplay.org. And if you're interested in learning about the Toy Association as the organization, their website is toyassociation.org. I also know that a lot of teachers are active on social media, maybe especially Instagram and Pinterest. So we do have Instagram, Facebook, and Pinterest for the Genius of Play. It's at Genius of Play. Genius of Play. We also have YouTube channels, so you can watch some of our play idea videos, some of our expert videos as well, where they share expert advice. So it's not just articles, but it's videos as well. And we also have a podcast. It's a limited podcast series called Once Upon a Playtime. Once Upon a Playtime, and we have great personalities as guests, like Alicia Silverstone and Nathan Sawaya. He's a famous Lego artist, and many others. They talked about exactly what you, Steve, talked about, how they played as a child and how that may have impacted what they're doing as adults, their career, their hobbies, their personalities. Some really, really fascinating stuff. Alicia Silverstone actually got into drama and performing as an emotional outlet, like she's obviously a famous actress, but it all started in her childhood. She was utilizing this theater and drama as an outlet, the emotions that she was going through.
That's so awesome. Good stuff. In the show notes, I'll have links to the different sites that you talked about, and just really cool. This has been awesome learning about all this. I got 2 last questions for you, Anna, and they're questions I like to ask my guests. And the first one is, when you face challenges in your work or day-to-day life, what keeps you going?
So I'm a big fan of what they call the growth mindset. I love that concept. So it's basically a way to view challenges and setbacks as opportunities for growth. So as long as you learn something, it's not really a failure. That's how I approach challenges. So it may have been a difficult experience, but as long as you learn something, and usually you learn a lot from difficult experiences, from challenges, that is where you learn the most, really. Let's face it. If everything is easy and breezy, you're just coasting, right? But if there is a challenge and you overcome the challenge, or even if you fail, there is a huge learning opportunity. So I think as long as you're able to reframe how you perceive those challenges and disappointment and failures as growth and learning opportunities, then you will be able to maintain this positive mindset, and that just goes a long way, I think, in being happy and feeling satisfied, no matter what specific setbacks you may experience from time to time.
Oh, this is awesome. I love it. Awesome answer. Last question. Do you have a teacher in your past who made a difference in your life? If so, who was it? And what would you say if given the chance to say thank you?
Yeah, so I'm incredibly lucky. I actually have a lot of great teachers in my life, and I'm forever thankful to them. So I'll mention a couple. My foreign language tutor, so she got me excited about English and English speaking world and travel and different cultures and countries. And thank you so much. That just opened up a new world for me, and that had a tremendous impact on my life. And there's another teacher that I wanted to thank. She was my literature teacher in high school, and her passion was theater. So she wanted to share her passion with the students. So we were always putting up plays and participating in concerts, and we would go on stage, and I would, read a poem on stage or play a role in like a DIY performance or something like that. So I think that's, well, apart from being a lot of fun, and like some of my best memories from high school, they revolve around that DIY theater, but they also gave me confidence and being comfortable speaking in public, for instance, right? And again, so important. So I'm having so much fun talking to you on this podcast, and I'm thinking about how nervous I was on that stage when I was a high school girl, and I had to go and do something in front of a lot of people. But this is how you learn, again, and we learned it through play. Literally, we were playing, we were putting up, DIY shows at school. So thank you so much. And that does not cover all my great teachers. I had a lot of others, but I will stop for now.
Oh, that's great. That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. It's amazing what people can have, the impact that they can have on us, which is so cool. Anna, thank you so much for talking with me about the Toy Association, the genius of play, what you do, play and toys that are STEAM related. This is so cool, and you got me thinking about all these different things. I got to go find somebody to play a game of chess or something. I just, what a cool world you have.
Thank you, Steve.
Hey, you have been listening to Teaching, Learning, Leading K-12, a podcast to help you help kids achieve their dreams. Teaching, Learning, Leading K-12 is a member of the Education Podcast Network. Podcasts for educators, podcasts by educators. Teaching, Learning, Leading K-12 is a member of the podcast network based in Canada called Voice Ed Radio. Voice Ed Radio, your voice is right here. The opinions expressed on Teaching, Learning, Leading K-12 are those of the guests and host. Teaching, Learning, Leading K-12 is intended to share ideas, advice, and suggestions. Teaching, Learning, Leading K-12 is produced for educational purposes. Hey, thanks for listening. It would be awesome if you visited my website at stephenmiletto.com and connected with me, left a review, and listened to more episodes. And by the way, you could also share it with your friends, with your family, and your colleagues. Thanks so much. You're awesome.